Here I'm going to provide a syllabus or an overview of the course that you're about to take, which is either the BAN203 or the BAN401 course. The only difference between the courses, some of the information in terms of chapters or modules are a little bit different, but the structure of the course is still the same. So the structure of the course is generally broken up into 5 parts. We have learning modules, which will consist of PowerPoints, videos, and quizzes. We have exams. There are 3 exams, all multiple choice, that will be 30 questions, and 1 final exam, which is also multiple choice, which will be 50 questions. You'll have 3 sets of homeworks due. There'll be a group project, and then we'll have some video conferences through Zoom. So grading works pretty simple. Each of the homeworks are worth roughly 5% each. Each are graded out of 10. So if you get a 10 out of 10, you'll end up with 5 points towards your final grade. So that's 15% of your grade. Each exam is worth 15% each. Each exam is a Blackboard exam that consists of 30 multiple choice questions. And you'll have 1 hour to complete those 30 questions. You should have no problem in terms of time finishing the multiple choice in an hour. So if each is worth 15%, you get a total of 45% for each of the 3 exams. Your final exam is worth a little bit more. It's worth 20%. And it itself is a Blackboard exam with 50 multiple choice, but you'll have 2 hours to complete that. And finally, you'll have a group project, which is worth 20%. And this totals to 100% of your grade. Now, each learning unit, as we said, has PowerPoint files and videos. The videos can be found on the 5-Element Analytics YouTube channel and are in a separate playlist. And there are multiple playlists here on this channel if you're interested in other areas of data analytics. However, Blackboard links directly to those learning modules. And the reason for this is so that you have an easier option to get to the videos if you need to, or you can review them at any point in time without having to log into Blackboard. Now, at the end of the learning unit, there's a multiple choice quiz. If you score an 80% on the quiz, the next learning unit will open up. So therefore, if you take the learning unit 2 quiz and you pass it with an 80, it will open up the next module. You can take the quiz as many times as you like, and this allows you to prepare for your exams, because about 75% of the exam questions are available to the quizzes. So the quizzes are great practice for the exam. Remember that the quiz scores, though, have no impact on the final grade. They're only there to allow you to move from module to module. At the end of each learning module, there's also short answer quizzes at the end. These are optional and they're great practice, but they're graded manually. They have no impact on the grade or on the flow of the course. But if you're interested in doing them and you'd like some feedback on them, I'll be happy to provide the feedback and grade them for you. Now, the format of the quizzes is you have about 20 to 30 minutes for roughly 8 to 10 questions depending on the learning module. Again, all of them are multiple choice and many of them are from the same pool as your exams. You will only get to see 1 question at a time and there's no backtracking. So once you get a question and you answer it, you won't be able to go back and see what your answer was. You get to take the quizzes as many times as you like. But again, you have to score an 80% in order to have the next module open up or an exam to open up. Please remember that the quizzes have no bearing on your grade and only serve as a means to move you from one module to the next. The exams open up at periodic times during the course. So again, the exams are 30 multiple choice. You have 1 hour to complete them. Only 1 question at a time with no backtracking. But you can only take the exam once. And here's a timeline for the exams. So after you've completed Chapter 5, Exam 1 will open up. Doesn't mean you have to do Exam 1 at that point. You can continue on if you wish, but the exam will be available for you. Once Chapter 9 is completed and you pass the quiz in Chapter 9, Exam 2 will open up. And again, as before, you'll be able to continue on if you choose and do the exam later. And finally, Exam 3 will open up at the end of Chapter 12. Similarly, the final exam will open up at the end of Chapter 12, and the only difference is that it is 50 multiple choice questions, and you have 2 hours to complete it, only 1 question at a time with no backtracking. Again, you only get to take the exams once. Now your homeworks, you have 3 homeworks. Each are graded out of 10 and is worth 5% of your total grade. So you're given roughly 5 problems from each chapter. You get to choose 3 out of the 5. So therefore, each one of your homeworks will have between 9 and 12 problems. When you submit it, and you submit it in Blackboard, you're going to submit a single Excel workbook, 1 file. And within the workbook, you're going to have multiple tabs. Each tab will be the particular question that you're answering. So please label the question clearly in terms of the number, as well as you may want to copy the text, even as a picture, on there so that you can easily reference it and I know the question that you're working on. Please clearly label and highlight your answers to make it easier for me to find where your answers are. In terms of a specific answer, if it asks for a mean or standard deviation or what the confidence interval is. Now, your group project is where you bring everything together. The maximum number of group members you can have is 4, although based on the size of the class, it might change. Be sure to ask me at the beginning of the class. You are to select a set of data that should have approximately 150 rows. I'd suggest a lot more. I would suggest anywhere of 500, 1,000 or more, because it should be easy for you to be able to obtain such a data set. And the more you have, the better it's going to be for your project. And it should have continuous as well as categorical data. And this will make a little bit more sense after you get through Module 2. You should have at least 10 columns, but again, have as many as you can because it will make your project more meaningful. Now, where can you get data? You can get data from a number of areas like data.gov, data.newyorkcity.gov, SNAP. You can look for, which is the Stanford Access for Data, Kaggle, and any other source that you like. If you're not sure, again, please feel free to ask me and I can point you in a couple more directions. But consider what topic you and your group would like to cover, whether it's healthcare, whether it's crime-related statistics or population statistics, because that will help you determine where you can get the data. And make sure that it's interesting and relevant to you, because when you're more interested in the data and in the topic, you're more likely to get more interesting results and a better experience out of the class. Ultimately, your goal should be to cover one main area or 2 main areas from each chapter. And you can exclude the introductory chapters. And this isn't a strict limitation, but it's a pretty good guide. Not all the data will support every technique that we cover, and as you present your project, I'll take that into account. This is more about bringing everything together, that you're looking for the analysis and you're working together. Each group member is doing their own analysis, and how does this tie together? Do we see increases in heart attacks in certain areas, and is that related to crime? Can we make the inference between 2 statistical techniques? Use the techniques that you've got in class and come up with the questions. Don't start with the technique. Come up with the questions that you want to ask and meld them together into this presentation that you would be giving to, say, executives. So, for example, you may want to study crime rates in Chicago, and others may want to study some aspects of healthcare in Chicago. So you're attempting to make a relationship between predictions in Chicago between healthcare and crime rates. This is where your group begins to work together. Your final deliverable for the project is really a PowerPoint document and an Excel worksheet. In the PowerPoint, you explain what you're doing and what the results are. You're going to explain it graphically as well as numerically. You should phrase your questions, what you found, and what your results were. There are 2 ways that you can present. Either we do a video conference, a live video conference where I will ask you questions, or you can record your video conference together as more of a video presentation, and then we would have a video conference later where I would ask you questions. Now, I don't really ask too many questions. I ask you to really present your questions as you would see in the field. So I'm asking you to make sure that you're telling me as much as you can about the data as well as the techniques that you ran. Why did you choose this variable to predict your result? Why was this method important in your analysis? Was there anything surprising in your results? And that's usually a big question. Did you find anything surprising? Your Excel should have tabs just like your homework, and you should label each tab with the results. And the PowerPoint is going to be somewhere between 12 and 20 slides, depending on how you write and organize it. Try and make it as though you were giving it to some senior executives at a firm. Now, what do you need for the class? Well, from a technology standpoint, you really just need Excel. Hopefully your computer has Excel and you can work with it. Your book does use a tool called Stat Tools. You do not need this. In fact, I recommend you not use this because it may not be available to you at a workplace. It is possible that you can use Google Sheets. Many of the formulas will work with some slight variations, so there's no issue with that. The problem is you won't be able to submit it, so you'll have to share it with me if you're going to use Google Sheets, and I will need to be able to see the track changes as well. In the Zoom sessions that we have, we'll hold them about once a week. These are just standard video conference sessions. The link will be the same every time, and I'll hold them as frequently as students need them. If you'd like a video conference or something is wrong, we can set it up. Just get a hold of me through Slack, which is one of the other pieces that you're going to be using to communicate with me. And many of the questions will only take about 10 to 15 minutes to answer. I will also record the Zoom sessions and post them as an unlisted link so that you and your colleagues can view them. If you have an objection to being recorded, please let me know. But also, I'm only going to record the session if asked. But if there's any objections from anyone, then I won't actually record it. One final note. I really want you to have fun with the class. I need to stress that I know a lot of students will panic when they hear the word statistics. However, if you're communicating with me and attending Zoom sessions, I will help you with the material and fix any of the technical issues that you have. One of the things that I always say is there's no magic, there's no pixie dust. It's just math. Don't be afraid of it. I hope you enjoy the class, and I look forward to working with you in the next few weeks.